when you're sending a text out, a message to
He
somebody
counts
that
everything,
says,
everyone who wants.
yeah, yeah, everyone who says yes, hey, you looking to sell? Yes, no matter what.
Right.
Um, they give that to you. So again, loose, but again, 46 people said yes, that's not bad. And I got, I think, 8 or 9 from the cold calling point of it.
Uh-huh.
So nothing as far as a contract yet. There's probably a handful that I'm still reaching out to and following up with and things like that. But I think texting has been working pretty well overall, like mass texting to list. And again, it's a lower end lead in terms of quality, but it's also very cheap. It's like less than a penny to send a text out. And if you're going to use a platform like uh, Launch Control, I don't know what they charge nowadays, but I know they used to charge a one flat fee. It used to be 10,000 text a month for $500. There's other software like Roar, ROOR. That's more of a pay as you go type thing. I forget if they have a monthly fee attached to that as well. But yeah, I think texting is something I want to explore more going into next year. I used to do
Yeah.
it pretty heavily a few years back, and then the carriers got real strict there for a period of time. But it seems like people are still using it and getting some results. So might be
Good, good.
something that we go back into next year.
Excellent. Now, how about the Facebook? I know you've been getting leads off of Facebook. Any pay dirt with those, or what's going on with those?
Yeah, well, yeah, I've actually made a few adjustments to them. I think I'm going on like in the 60-day mark with it now. And
Uh-huh.
usually anytime you run digital online marketing in general, it takes like 60, 90 days for you to really, for the algorithm really to hone in on what you're looking for. So I have noticed I'm getting a lot better quality leads, at least a lot better quality houses in the last probably, I don't know, 14, 20 days. Better houses and better areas. So I think it's coming around.
What
But
did you
yeah,
change?
I just went from nationwide to more focused on metro areas.
Got it.
Yeah, I picked, let me see, I think I have like 40 or 50 cities that I picked throughout the country that, would support based on population would support a deal. And I did stick to the southeastern part of the country. Nothing against anything in the west, but that's just more what I'm comfortable with here.
Hmm.
So that's the adjustments I made on the Facebook ads for sellers. On the buyer side, tenant buyer side, I've gotten over 100 different inquiries on that property through Facebook. I've had a couple people go by this week and had one go by today. Again, it's just words as of now, but he said he had 60K to put down and was willing to pay like 32 or 3,300 bucks a month. So that would fit our criteria. I sent him the application, or he got the application when he went to the house today. So I'm waiting now to get that back from him and get the process started. So hopefully we have something on that end, but definitely getting a lot of traction on the Facebook side on tenant buyers. When you have a
That's
house you're looking, yeah.
that sounds like the one that you were negotiating. Ron was negotiating with the lawyers when we were there.
Yeah, this is the same house. Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
One
Yep.
last question, and I'll be
Yep.
quiet because I
You're
don't
good.
want to just over the call. Um, Holidays. Now that we're into the holidays, are you changing anything? Are you doubling down? What are you doing right now in terms of the holidays?
Yeah, the holidays, you know, we didn't double down, but we didn't change anything also, right? I do think it's a good time. November and December is a good time to get ahead for next year in a sense, because a lot of people in November, December kind of take their foot off the gas in a sense. Um, so I do think that there is a lot of value in remembering that, well, we already passed that Thanksgiving Day is one day, right?
Sure.
Christmas Day is one day. New Year's Day is a day, right? So as long as we're not taking 2, 3, 4 a week off during this time period and we're staying consistent with our marketing and making our follow-up calls, I think everything now, not to say you can't get a contract in the next 3 weeks, definitely, definitely very possible. Just my mentality is setting everything up for January, right? Like making continuing, because I know January is a more active month than November and December because everyone's kind of been on vacation, been out of town, not really doing business, and then January comes and all the New Year's resolutions start, right? All the I'm going to buy X amount of properties this year starts type of deal. People have kind of been on the sidelines for a few weeks because of the holidays, so they're ready to get back in action. So January tends to be a more active month. So again, just preparing myself for that and being consistent, man. Well, no matter what time of what day of the month or year or time of the year, I just continue every day doing my daily behaviors that are leading to deals, and that's all I really focus on.
Awesome. Great answers. Thank you so much. And now I will mute out and listen to everyone else for the remainder of the call.
No, I appreciate it, man. Thank you guys, both of you.
Thank you.
And again, congratulations. If you don't know, Tony and Angie just closed a $30,000 assignment, well, a couple weeks back. So congratulations to you both.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you
You're
for your
welcome.
help with that, brother.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, of course, anytime.
I made sure I put you in my testimonial letter. You saw your name
I
in there.
saw it. I saw it. I saw it. I appreciate that.
So thanks again.
Thank you. Yeah.
Bye.
All right, Mr. Gary, you're up.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Um, what's your calling software that you use? I notice when we're on the call, sometimes you will answer, it'll ring in, and what kind of, I know a lot of people use their cell phone. This
Hmm.
thing seems to be not automated, but it comes in. What do you recommend?
Are you talking about like outbound dialing, like cold calling type, or is like people calling
Both
me?
ways. Well,
Okay.
both ways.
For the outbound, yeah, I always use a dialer. I use Batch, BATCH, Batch dialer. The two most popular, or the two that I would recommend, would be either be Batch or Mojo, Mojo, Mojo dialer is another popular one amongst investors and just anybody in this, sales business. So Batch is a computer-based dialer where you have to use it on through your computer, which I like. And if you and Mojo is more of a phone base, like you call through your phone, your cell phone. So that's the major difference in that. I just didn't like having my cell phone tied up doing that. So whatever you
So,
prefer.
so when you're not on your computer and someone calls, how do you handle that? Does it go to your cell phone? Can you forward it to your cell phone or something like that?
On the cold calling, as long as I'm in the dialer, I'll receive calls through the dialer and I can answer through that. Now,
Okay.
if I'm not online, you can. I've never set up on cold calling. I've never set it up to receive the return calls because what if it's an hour later and I mean, when I'm dialing hundreds of people in one session, right? So if someone were to call me back and say, "Hey, I had a missed call," I'd be completely unequipped to even know what they're talking about in terms of like address or who they are, right? So that's why I've never really routed the return of a cold call back to my phone. Now, you can set up through the dialer or your own, set up a voicemail that it does go to. This basically, hey, this is Adol with ABC Properties. You probably had a missed call from me or received a letter. It's in regards to a property we're interested in buying. If you're interested in selling, leave me your name and number and address. I get back to you or whatever. Something like that
Do
would
you
be
have
that.
that? Do you do that or no? Do you just let it?
No, on the voicemail, I've never really set up a voicemail on the cold call. Again, a cold call, I just never wanted my information out there like that to anybody and everybody who's calling back because people are crazy out there, right? So when it's a cold call and I'm just kind of like, I just didn't want to leave my name and company name out there for the crazies. You can if you want. Like I just
No, I
didn't want to do
understand.
that,
I
right? It's
totally
a cold
understand.
call.
Yep.
So that's a kind of a business personal decision on that. But I know that if they didn't answer my call on the dialer, like that number and that contact is going to be put back in the queue to call them back in my next session. So I know that I'm going to get back to them eventually. So it's not like they're just gone forever.
Do you
So I
text
know
them?
that.
Do you text them? If you
Not
can't
on
get a
cold calls. No, not on a cold call. Because again, a cold call, I'm pulling a list off of Dreams, whether it was to say pre-foreclosure. My goal during calling these lists is just to see gauge if they're interested in selling, yes or no.
right,
And
right,
again,
right.
I'm in it for the efficiency of it. And if ever, and imagine I'm doing in an hour, I can do about 100 dials, right? 100 different phone numbers, dials. So if I were to stop and voicemail and text every single one of them, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
I
yeah.
wouldn't
It
get
would
through
be
nearly
cumbersome.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So that's
Well,
why I don't do it there.
what do you do with FISBOs or ones that have reached out to you? Well, not reached out to you, but I'm still pulling FISBO leads and for rent leads and stuff like that. Do you have any suggestions, or do you do that? Do you have expertise in that?
Well, I guess I'll clarify this on a FISBO. Like we're dealing with FISBOs all the time, right? Just because you don't have a sign in the yard, FISBO is no different than someone on a pre-foreclosure who's selling their house to you that doesn't have a sign in the yard, right? They're both for sale by owners, right? Does that make
Right,
sense?
right, right.
So the
Yeah.
FISBO, are you talking about like the sign in the yard FISBO?
No, no. I get a
Okay.
list. I get just
Okay,
like we
yeah.
used to do with the Gold Club, and I got a bunch that I have to go through. The quality is poor, but there's quantity. So
Yeah. Yeah, if it's a cold list, we definitely mail, call, text are kind of the three pronged attack there that I would recommend doing that. And again, I'm just looking for someone who raised their hand and said, "Yeah, I'd consider selling." That's kind of the idea initially of sending this marketing. Someone to raise their hand and say, "Yeah, I'd sell my house." And so from there, we take the call. As far as handling leads coming on an inbound, we have several numbers. We use Profit Dial, which is I think it was attached to Black Book, but there's some out there. Ring Central, Profit Dial is one of them. I'm sure there's others out there people can point you in the direction of, and you can acquire these numbers. And then I just put those different numbers in each piece of marketing. So I have a different number in a foreclosure mail that goes in probate mail that
right,
goes on a
right.
postcard.
They can track
So
the
I just
marketing.
yeah, so I just save those numbers in my phone as probate mail, foreclosure mail, postcard, whatever that is. So when I get a call, if I were to, there are times throughout the day where I do live answer occasionally, not so much anymore, but I used to do it 100%. I would save those numbers in my phone as that. So when the person called, it'd pop up in my phone as probate lead or foreclosure or just lead in general. So I then knew if I could take this call, let me do everything I can to take it and be prepared for it. And if not, then at least my voicemail is set up there and I can capture their phone number and get back, kind of chase them after when I have time.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, I don't know if I answered the question, all your questions there. Was that
No, you did. I we're
okay?
just these are just uh, people who have raised their hand that they want to sell their house. They don't, the old, just the same list that we used to have in the Gold Club.
Okay,
Um,
so the one in the Gold Club we used to have were people who had signs in their yard who were actively marketing their house for sale.
right, right. Well, some are have signs. I mean, they just raise their hand saying they want to sell. Whether they've got a sign in their yard or not, I don't know. But they
Okay,
put
so
their
you
hand
so
up
you've
there.
sent out marketing and they've called you,
No,
right? Is that what
no,
you're saying?
no,
Okay.
no, no. This is just these are just people who put either Zillow or wherever they've put their hand up and said they want to sell.
I got you. Yeah. To be honest with you, on that side of it, I don't really mess too much with that stuff on Zillow. Anybody who has puts their house on Zillow, I really don't mess with them, honestly. Very, very rarely do I call anything like that. It's just everyone sees it. They're a lot harder to mess with. They're probably more than likely not some situation where they need to sell at a discount or on payments, right?
Right,
And
most of
that's
them
part
are.
of the reason why we stop doing that lead service in general, or we're going to stop doing sure for good, is because you get in this cycle of getting these quote unquote leads that have their houses for sale, but those are extremely, extremely difficult to buy the way that we want to buy them, right?
Right,
For a discounted cash or on terms. And then it just got our community in this habit of basically waiting for these Gold Club leads to come. And if they didn't come, then there was no other leads coming. And when they did come, very difficult to close. So people weren't really, it was just a frustration of a loop of frustration of people when that's really the lowest level of lead that you want to really go after. So
right.
by doing that, there's deals in them. We got them before. It's not like we haven't. It just takes
It takes a
a
lot of
lot
work.
of those to go through. Yeah, as opposed to if I got 10 leads through mail or 15 leads through mail, I can close one of those. It might take me 50 plus to get on a FISBO deal, a fit deal from a FISBO on Zillow, right? So it's just a matter of efficiency and time management.
Do you know when? Well, let me ask you. I may have asked this before, but what's your CRM? Do you have a CRM, or is it just paper? You track it on the computer, or how do you do it? How do you manage it?
I am using Go High Level.
Go high level.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's something that I've worked on for a while, creating kind of customizing it to me because Go High Level is actually just a shell, and you can add a lot of stuff to it. It just takes time, knowledge, or money, whichever one you have to do it. And yeah, so I just customize different workflows and stuff to me. It connects to Facebook. It sends out. It has the chat bot already installed in it. I mean, there's a lot of perks to it. Again, it just takes a lot of technical skill. Well, let me say skill. It just takes a lot of. You just have to know what you're doing on it and just be patient and work through it. It's not gonna be your CRM that you want overnight. It'll take you a few months to get everything kind of in line, but it's for the
Well,
long haul.
it's always a hassle to change CRM. So yeah.
Yes, yeah. And what are
Um,
you using right now?
I'm using FreedomSoft
Okay, yeah. If you have something like that, just stick with that. Yeah, yeah. They're very similar.
because
So,
it's got a dialer, it's got texting, it's
yep,
got the whole thing
yep,
in there. So it's
yeah, yeah,
pretty
yeah.
easy to
Very, very,
use.
very similar, customizable to you. Very high. They're both high level, no pun intended, CRM. So, um, yeah, that's how I've really been working the last quarter of this year to really automate a lot of the follow-up process for myself. I've gotten a lot busier and just really having to answer every text message, every email, every
Well,
call,
it's a
it
hassle.
becomes a lot. Yeah, it
It's
becomes a
work.
lot. So yeah,
Yeah, becomes a
truly
job.
is. Yes, sir.
Real quick, another question.
Yep.
What was the combination? Because I know Tony and Angie have been on for quite some time. What was the combination that helped them to complete the pass and get the deal? D.
Yeah. I can let Tony and Angie answer. I mean, I have an idea of what it is, but I like to hear from them if they don't mind sharing. What took you from, hey, you've been on these calls for a while, you've been in Ron's world for a while. What was the difference between that and what happened in the last 30 days or 45 days or whatever? You there, Tony, Angie? Maybe they stepped away, so I put them on the spot there. But I'll if they don't step in here, I'm not saying this is the reason. They did come to that at that implementation day and got the deal pretty shortly after that. But I really think it did come down to them just getting on the phone more. I really truly believe that. Just them really making the phone calls every day and pulling these lists, making the calls and following up. And maybe some of it was luck, right? They've been at it for a long, long time, and sometimes timing is good, right? So all of that combined would be my guess. But I just knowing Tony and talking with him through the deal, I think he was just really active and took the phone seriously, right? He got a dialer and he was calling through these lists, and sure enough, some that's what happens, right? You talk to enough people on these lists, it's just a matter of time. All right, at that point, you just have to put in the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that would be and again, I wish if they were if I catch them here, if they cop, I can ask them. But that's my guess, honestly, is they just kind of got over that fear and really took it serious because that's really what it's going to take, especially on a small budget. Um, you just got to put in that 2 or 3 hours every single day, 4 or 5 days a week, calling through these lists. And then as you start getting the leads, inputting them in your CRM and consistently following up with them every month or every few weeks over the course of time, and it'll happen. It
Were
really is
those
that
mailer
simple.
lists? Were those mailer lists or what?
He did they were mailing and he was doing calling. I know that for sure. I don't know exactly where that lead came from that they closed, but I know that they have been doing some pretty large drops through Dreams. And the way I've been working Dreams, and I don't know if they were doing this, but just a little tip that's helped me. So I created probably 5 or 6 lists, each one of them ranging from, I think the smallest were 100 and the biggest were probably a few hundred. And so whatever those lists are, I made 5, 6 of them. How many addresses popped up, I mailed them. So if I had a list of 100, I'd mail those. I had another list of like 200, mail it. Had another list of 300, mail. All together was like 700 pieces of mail, right? So I got all those in one campaign, put them in postcards, saved those searches on my deal alerts there. And as I'm getting those leads every week, just like you were talking about the FISBO, getting those, I replace getting those with the daily deal alerts from Dreams. So now I'm getting those on a weekly basis from each of those lists, maybe 4 or 5 a week or whatever that is. So now I'm just putting those in the mail every single week. So now I've got going out 25 to 50 pieces of mail every single week off of these lists. I'm taking those same lists, sending them over to the VA, or I'm calling through them as well. And then I'm planning on implementing some of the texting on it. So you don't necessarily have to do large drops every single month or every week, right? You can have a steady flow of mail going out 50, 100 pieces every single week to manage your budget. And if you're calling on top of that and you do that consistently, you're bound to just get some calls and make some connections with doing that. But
What would
pretty
you
minimal
recommend as
cost.
a budget for that?
Um, uh, Trick question. I don't know, man. It really would depend what you could afford. A good on a monthly basis, if you could get anywhere from like 500 to 1,000 pieces a week, that would be ideal, right? That's what we're doing now. About we say about 1,000 a week, it's about 4,000 a month, somewhere in that range, and that grants us probably a deal a month just from that, doing that alone from those leads.
What's the cost associated with that with each?
Yeah, just cut it in half. Usually to 4,000 pieces, probably about $2,000, give or take, right? Probably
Okay.
maybe a little bit more, something like that. So the postcards are 59 cents. So I typically just how many pieces you want, cut it in half. That'll give you the dollar amount, right? So it'll be a little bit more than
That
that,
makes
but
sense.
just in general,
And
yeah, yeah.
how many times do you mail them before you get the responses typically? I mean, it's different.
Um,
I'm just looking at average, right?
yeah. Uh that I don't have that number. I don't even want to make up a number. I don't know how many times I would have to. We mail them every 60 days. Like every address gets one every 60 days, right? That's just kind of the flow of it for maybe a drop or two after, doing that. So that stretches it out. If you have two different lists and you're mailing each one 30 days, one hits in December, one hits in January, then that other one hits in February, the other one hits in March,
Right.
right? So it's a
Right.
consistent, that way you can extend your budget out a little bit, have a bunch of mail going out in the time period, and it's not going to kill you from a cost standpoint as much. But yeah, I wouldn't go past more than once a month, honestly, for each address, unless you had a reason to think otherwise. Like it was, I don't know if you're in Georgia, or I think Texas is a state that forecloses on really quickly. So if I knew that, hey, their foreclosure was filed on today and they only had 21 days, well then yeah, I might send them a letter a week, or maybe one a week through Dreams and one a week through my like handwriting or something, right? Something like that. That would definitely be a reason to mail multiple drops closer than a month apart. But other than that, I think 30 days. I mean, 'cause you got to think, if you sent me a postcard today on the 9th and you send me another one on the 21st, I mean, is my mind really going to change that drastically? And
Right.
then probably not. So it's kind of a waste. So definitely at least 30 days apart. I would stick to that. It's pretty
And you
safe.
use another mailer besides Dreams?
Currently, we are just using Dreams. I've been using those the yellow and white postcards and Dreams that are pretty generic when we buy
Yeah.
house type things. Previously, we had been using REI Complete, and we use them occasionally. We kind of go back and forth sometimes. Like right now, we're paused with them, and I'm just kind of focusing on Dreams, trying to manage our own mail. But we throw them in occasionally, them and some yellow letters occasionally when maybe the lead flow is not as high, or maybe you just want to try some, bring them back, because the REI does the check offer letters where there's a number on the check. That's who does those. And then Yellow Letter Lady, I love Yellow Letters personally. I think they work very well in terms of getting responses. So we do a mixture of those and postcards yearly, year round, every month, every week. We got something going out.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you
Cool.
very much.
Yeah. No, thank you, Gary. All right. Is it
Let me know
Jimmy?
when
Is it?
it's my turn.
It's Jimison now. Jimison. You had their hand up here, and I'll get you next,
Yeah,
Eric.
yeah. Quick question for you,
Sure.
Dell. You mentioned you're using chatbot. How are you using chatbot with your Go High Level CRM?
Well, right now I'm just having it answer any messages that come back. So as I get the leads input into the CRM, I have a workflow set up where basically they're receiving automated text and email for the first for 60 days. Every few days they're getting something from me for 60 days, and they don't opt out and or schedule a call with me. That's the ultimate, or fill out the survey, one of those three. Then it just loops them back into to restart the process at 60 days. So it's kind of a never ending. But as to answer your question, as a chat, but what a chat bot does is as these responses come into the emails, into the text messaging, it automatically answers for me, right? So if someone replies, well, yeah, what's your offer going to be, right? It responds appropriately with, we try to get, I don't know, something along the lines, we try to get you a fair offer, but we need some more information first. When's a good, can you tell me a little bit about your property, right? So it kind of handles a little bit of pre-screening of the prospects as they come in, instead of me having to necessarily make those text message every single person. So it's just an automatic thing that happens. And you got to train it. It's a bot. At the beginning, it was real rough. There were some rough conversations because the bot was saying things that I didn't want it to say, and it was and it was scheduling me appointments when I didn't want him to schedule me appointments to get on the phone, and I didn't have. So it was a little bit of some speed bumps at the beginning. But yeah, but I'm usually through Go High Level. They have a conversation AI through the platform that I'm using. So it was already there. I just basically had to train it. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Derek, you're up. You're on mute if you are
Hello.
talking. Yeah, yes,
Okay,
sir.
can you hear me now?
Yep. Well, you went back on mute. I did hear you for a second, then you went back on mute there.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, comment and a question. Comment. I guess everybody's heard about the queen of short sale. She got nabbed for fraud. So my comment on that, don't listen to the morons, listen to more Ron. And my question now is, there was a recent Ask Ron posted to YouTube, and the host mentioned a new way of doing acts or a new contract. Is that something other than when Ron says why I no longer assign the contract to the buyer? Now, that one I'm up to date, but if there is another new one or a different, something different on the contract, then I'm not aware of.
Not that I'm aware of, and I'm not familiar with the video that you're referencing. I can definitely take a look at it and maybe answer it next time I see you. But um, yeah, I
Yeah,
don't I
just
don't think there's anything different that
it
I'm aware of.
it just posted to YouTube about 2 days ago,
Okay.
and he mentions, he said, yeah, that type of deal is the new type of acts, and you use a new form. So he might be referring to the fact that Ron no longer assigns the contract to the buyer.
Yeah.
He does it the other way around. That might be what he's talking about,
Yeah, I
but I
would I
wasn't
would
sure.
probably yeah, I think that makes sense because I know that, and what he's referencing, if you don't know, is you can get a term. So say I negotiate a nothing down deal on a house,
Hmm.
and I, for whatever reason, don't have the funds to close it or don't want to close on and keep it. I can still take that terms deal and assign it to a new buyer. Right. So I can take zero down. Here's the ARV. Here's the payment. Here's the balance. Hey, buyer, do you want this? Pay me $10,000 fee to get it. You definitely can do that, right? That's an assignment of contract essentially for a
Hmm.
terms deal. And then you
Hmm.
have the axe here, and you can explain, Derek, what the axe is if you want.
Well, the regular axe deal is when there's not going to be a monthly spread, and you don't think there's going to be much of a back end. So you write it up anyhow, you collect your non-refundable option deposit, and you then, instead of assigning your contract to the buyer, you write the contract in the name of, uh, Real Estate ABC or your land trust, and you then assign that contract back to the seller. And that way, neither one of them, uh, starts a great big hassle because the fact that you just made 15 or 20 grand, neither
Yeah.
one of them really knows it. All the buyer knows is, okay, now I owe another 200,000. I'm going to pay that monthly to the seller. And all the seller knows is, yeah, I had a deal with him for 200,000. This guy's paying me the same amount. Neither one of them knows that in the middle you made, 10 or 20 grand. So that's the revision. That's acts with the revision instead of assigning your contract to the buyer.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know much about the acts, to be honest with you. Never done one like that. So,
Okay.
but it sounds like, I mean, what you're saying makes complete sense, and
Do I sound
I'm
like
with
Ron when I say it?
you. You're making sense to me.
Well,
I've never. Go ahead.
if not, then I need some more practice.
No, I've never really assign or axe only for this. Now, if you're giving it the axe, you're going to get back to the original seller would be fine. I don't mind that. But when you're assigning these, right, when you do a cash assignment, you assign the deal, the cash comes in, the seller's gone, buyer moves on, you get your money, everyone's detached from the property except for the buyer.
Mhm.
But when you're assigning a terms deal, hey Derek, I'm negotiating directly with you one on one, and I got you zero down, and you trust me, and I'm going to be the guy who's going to buy that, and you think that if you're the seller, I'm going to be making your payment, and I'm doing all this, and then for me to turn around and assign that to some random buyer out there, I don't know. There's nothing wrong with it. I just never felt good about saying, hey, you know, I'm going to pay your mortgage for the next 20 years, telling someone that,
Mhm.
then to assign it. And then if to somebody who I really don't know, right? These are just buyers out there in the market. And if that buyer, for whatever reason, doesn't perform like he said, I mean, I guess you couldn't get in trouble, but more, they're going to come back to me. And I thought you said you were going to do, and then I'd sound like I wasn't keeping my word. And that's kind of why I have avoided wholesaling terms deals. But again,
Well,
that's just
the
a personal preference on mine.
the new way that he explains it now with the revision is a million times better
Yeah.
because neither one of them is going to give you grief because you made your money in the beginning. The trick to it is using your LLC or land title to be to buy it from the seller and also to sell it to your new buyer, and then you write a separate contract to the buyer. Now you take that contract, which is about identical to the first one that you sold, that you bought from your seller. You take that contract and give that to the seller. Neither one of them can really complain too much.
Yeah, no, no, I get it. And I'm not, my concern wasn't even about the complaining. It was just more of the long term. But if the seller's taking back the contract and it's their responsibility in their house, and you just made you made a spread on it, that's fine with me. I don't mind that. I just didn't want, signing to a long-term buyer and then them not perform. And I don't know. Again, it's just personal. I just didn't feel good
All
about
right.
that.
So when you watch this video, um, that probably is what he's talking about. It's a host that I didn't recognize. It's not Ron talking. And he
Yeah.
says that there's something new or different you're going to do on the form. And I just wonder if that's it or if there's something else that I missed.
No, I think you're right on the money, and there's nothing new that I'm aware of that's outside of what's been being taught over the years.
Okay. All right. So back to
Yeah.
the queen of real estate. Just my advice to everybody is don't let your greed gland get you to Photoshop a proof of funds or an agreement to buy from your buyer and submit that to a bank. Don't do that. In
All
fact,
right.
Ron is not crazy about short sales anyhow. And this her whole problem was on a string of short sales, and
Yep.
she
Got to be
fudged
careful
some of
when
the
you're dealing with
paperwork.
that stuff. Yep. Absolutely.
Yep,
That's not for the beginners. That's for sure.
yep, and that just recently happened a couple days back.
Yeah.
All right, don't let me
All
get
right.
started talking. I'll have you here
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
night.
All right, Derek. Appreciate it, buddy. All right, Brian,
Thanks
you're
for you.
up. Yes, sir. Thank you, Derek.
So my question is, I'm trying to remember what Ron was talking about. He always says it during the quick starts of if you've got money coming in and you're going to be paying somebody off, but I don't remember the exact terminology that he used. When he says, I'm going to be, I have money coming in or something. Um, And
Oh, you're he's talking about, so if you're if you agree on a balloon payment with the seller for say 5 years, and you're coming up on year four, and you got someone who's going to cash you out of a terms deal or cash you out of any deal, right? Like this,
right.
you can go to the seller then and say, hey, I came into some money here recently. I know we agreed that I would pay you X amount. I do have a lump sum in cash I can spend. Say you owed her 400,000. I know we agreed on 400,000. I do have a lump of money that just came in off of a deal or whatever you can make up, right?
Yeah.
Um, but it doesn't, but it's not 400,000. I mean, would you be willing to take some sort of discount on the note for me to cash you out completely right now? And
Right.
then, oh, I might. What are you talking about? Well, again, I don't know how Ron can he can negotiate. I'm sure he'd ask, well, I mean, what would be the least you would take, for me to pay you off type question, right?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Is that the best you can do? I do have some cat, kind of convincing them. I think that's what, yeah, I think that's what you're referring to, kind of getting a discount on the note on the end there.
Yeah, it's supposed to be the deal after the deal.
Correct, correct. Yeah.
But I think I looked it up on Gold Club and I didn't see anything. So
Yeah, it's just a matter of negotiating that lump sum that's due if someone were to cash you out of or about to cash you out of a deal or something. Or even if I think he did it on a piece of land recently where they bought it on terms and then it took a few years to sell, but it finally did. And before the closing, I think the buyer was coming in with cash or coming in with a lender or something. So like a week or so before closing, I think Ron talked to the guy and said, "Hey, I'm coming." The same spiel came, and he got him down like $15,000 or something.
yeah,
So that's what he's owed now. So they have to do an addendum, whatever, right? And then you just yeah. So pretty sure that's what he was referring to.
okay. How would I find out exactly what Ron says? Because I think I submitted something to the forum and I
Oh,
hadn't heard.
you mean whenever he calls the original seller, what he says, you mean?
Yeah,
Um, you can ask at Ron. Type it in there. Maybe they'll do it on Ask Ron about it. Hey, what would you say? How I think that actually would be a good question. I like to hear it myself.
yeah, and I did. I think I don't know. I submitted it like 2 or 3 weeks ago because I've got a deal in the process and it's supposed to close either this week or next week.
Okay,
So
yeah, that I mean that would be the way that I would, just hey, I came into some money here. When do they do? When are they due the money?
well, it's basically whenever I can pay it off. It's not through it's not a purchase contract. It's
Oh, okay.
I've got another deal through the overages side of it, and I'll have a lump sum coming in, and I'm just trying to figure out to pay off all my bills. I'm trying to get whatever discount I can do,
Sure.
or whatever discount I can get.
So, on the overages side, that is it working for you? You've done a deal through that?
Well, yeah, it'll
Oh,
be
really?
this is the first one that I've done, but it'll be multiple six figures.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, awesome. Congratulations, man.
Yeah, it only took me 2 years to do it, but
Yeah. I started doing it when I heard about it a couple years back off of, I think it was a summit I was on. And
yeah.
I never gave it enough time to really do it, to be honest with you. I did what most people do. You buy it, try it, and for a couple of weeks and quit. But I definitely, I know what it's about, so I definitely want to go back to it eventually. But yeah, there's definitely, I think, some deals in there for sure, right? You would think. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I did. I actually did that same thing like 20 something years ago, but at the time it wasn't. You didn't. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have any way to really to skip trace any of the stuff. So I mean, the deals I was getting were 30, 40, $50. And
Oh, gotcha, gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, with all the data now and the information, they're easy to find. Those lists are super easy to get. You just a matter of getting contact and convincing that person
lists
that
are
you're
easy
not some
to get.
scam.
Well, the problem is the lists are easy to get. It's not easy to find the actual person. And
Yeah,
that's the problem that I've run into has been trying to actually get a hold of the former owner.
yeah. And
So
that aspect, I know I always say that don't call past number two or three on the skip trace form.
yeah,
Those ones I might call past, and I might call them all if I wasn't reaching out. Some of those numbers would have to be
yeah.
theirs, I'd imagine. But
No,
the good,
there's the ones that I've actually made a call. I mean, there's not normally 20 or 30 phone numbers associated with it. Normally, it's between 5 and 10, and I just
Yeah, that's all you're going to get. 10 is the max you're going to get.
yeah, but
Yeah,
the problem that I've run into is it's been trying to get a hold of the former owner because the obviously the old address is not they're not getting mail there, and they don't get their forwarding address, or it's expired or whatever, but and the phone numbers are usually not um, accurate. So
yeah, I got you. Yeah, it's a challenge.
but
And
yeah,
this so everyone on the call, if you don't know what the overage is business in, basically, um, if your house goes into foreclosure, the bank is owed 100,000. Somebody at the auction buys your house for 200,000. Who gets that 100,000 spread, right? The bank is going to get their 100,000. The buyer paid 200,000. They got to pay their fees. They get the house. There's 100,000 in the middle. That money sits in the county escrow account. Some states hold it for a minimum 2 or 3 years or longer before the original seller or the person who lost their house can even put in an inquiry to get the money back. So basically, and if no one does, then the county just takes the money and keeps the money. So if
yeah,
you're able to find these lists of overages and get in contact with the seller and basically pitch to them, hey, you're owed $100,000, and I have a way to get it for you. But for my services, I charge 40%, 50%, 60%, whatever I can recover. You don't have to pay me a dime up front. I only get paid when you get paid. All you got to do is sign this piece of paper, blah, 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 blah. That's the overages business. Another way to make money in real estate, if you were wondering what he was talking about. That's a broad view there, but
yeah, and I mean, like I said, it's a hassle to get to find the other people, but it I've had decent success with it, and it's a hassle to try
yeah.
and trace all these people and try and get the accurate information. So
Yep. 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 Well, keep at it, man. Looks like took a while, but now you got one. The second one can't take 2 years, right? So the next one's right around the
yeah,
corner now.
if the other one's only a year, it'll be
Yeah,
fine.
yeah. Hey, there you go.
And then
Good
six
attitude.
months, and then three
Yeah,
months.
hey, good attitude. That's the way it works, though, honestly. So good job. Yeah.
So,
All righty. Any other questions here? Anybody else got anything? Let's see here. This is the time to get your questions out. Questions, concerns. Go ahead, Gary. You're up.
Hey, um, I notice it doesn't always work this way for me. So I notice in Ron's training, and when they do the seller calls, um, they don't necessarily negotiate the price um, on the phone. And sometimes there's some things that it seems like they're just putting it off to the face to face. Concern I have about that, what I've run into is sometimes you go face to face and it's not a deal. They're not willing to move. They're not, it's just, and um, I just was curious as to how you do that. Do you try to handle things? I know the theory, well, it's not theory. It face to face, people are more apt to work with you. There's a little bit more intimidation when you're face to face than on the phone. Not that we're trying to intimidate people, but we can go the other way too. So, what's your take on that? Your process, and it's hard to do face to face when you're remote because you have somebody else boots on the ground. They're not going to be the same. You kind of have to get those things nailed down. What's your advice?
Yeah, I would just say, and Derek mentioned he just put it here in the chat as you were talking, and that's kind of what I was going to say. I definitely don't just go to a house with no numbers at all. Like that's just crazy, in my opinion. I definitely want to have a rough draft of a deal, right? Doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be exactly what I want, but as Derek put here in the chat, as long as they're in the ballpark area of what we're talking, and you get the sense, or you've asked him directly, hey, I think we're in the, and I've said that, hey, we're in the same ballpark, we're close. I can't promise you I'm going to give you 140, but I think it's good, close enough to where I can come at least take a look at the house. Are you flexible on that 140 number, or are you set on there? Most time people would say, well, let's come see it, we'll talk, right? So as long as I'm in that area within range, yeah, within the range, like Lacey said here in the chat as well, I'm setting the appointment because I know face to face I'm going to get 10 to 20K off, if not more, off the purchase. I know that just from experience, and just like you said, face to face, people are going to be more open to negotiating, especially if they need to sell the house and are a motivated seller, right? Um, so yeah, that's my tactic on the phone is I try on one, if I can, on that first call, I try to get through the whole process of getting all the information, getting a price, getting the mortgage, going through the benefits, getting the appointment. If everything lines up, right? If they keep answering how I want them to answer, then I just keep moving on all the way through until I get an appointment. Now, if I feel like they're if I'm not getting all the answers I want and I feel like it's not worth my time for or not worth going out there for an appointment, then I just got to make the decision, is this person worth a follow-up, right? Hey, somebody I talked to, they need the money because they're moving to Texas and they need that money to buy a new house. And they're steadfast on, I'm only going to take cash and this is what I need to move and blah, blah, blah. And it's the number they're asking for is completely out of line of of our Mayo. Then yeah, I wouldn't follow up with that person. I mean, I know they need cash. They're probably not going to budge as much as I need them to for a cash. So what's the point? They're not open to terms because they need the cash for the new house. So I'm not going to follow up with that one, as opposed to somebody who's like, what you're saying sounds okay. Like it sounds reasonable. Um, I'm just, I'd like to get some more offers, or hey, I'd like to talk to my husband, or hey, I'd like to. I'm not selling till February, but everything sounds okay now. Then yeah, that's definitely somebody. Obviously, I'm going to follow up with in pretty consistently, pretty quickly over that period of time. So every lead is its own story, right? Is its own way. There's not like every lead do this or
Nope.
every lead do
Yeah,
that, right? Yeah, it's a gut thing. If anything else, I always say put them on a follow up. If you're unsure, follow up. I've never lost a deal from following up too much. I've lost plenty from not following up enough, right? But I've never lost one from following up too much. So if you're ever in doubt, follow up. That's
okay.
it. So yeah, but to answer your question, yeah, I got to have a number. I got to have something. Again, I'm the buyer. I have the leverage. When we start the business, a lot of us think that the sellers have the leverage. No, I'm the buyer. They need me more than I need them. And you need to, as a seller, convince me it's worth my time to drive an hour round trip anywhere in Jacksonville. It's going to be 30 minutes there, 30 minutes back to go look at this house. I've seen 100 houses. I've seen 1,000 houses. I don't need, I don't need to see another house. I go to houses to buy them. So,
Right.
if you haven't
Well,
given me the answers and convinced me to follow up or go to the appointment, then I won't.
I think Ron mentioned, you don't want to kill the deal on the phone, but at the same time, you don't want to make a trip and waste your time and go out there and it be fruitless. That it falls apart, or there's something you didn't cover, and they're like, oh, we got to have at least $20,000 down. It's like, uh,
Yeah,
you
well,
know,
that's where the question on the phone come into, hey, well, what's the least you take for a down payment? 20,000, and you say, is that the best you can do? And they're like, yeah, really, 20,000 is. And then I'll keep going through the process, and I would kind of say, hey, well, listen, I don't know if I can give you 20, and if that's what you really you're set on getting the 20,000 at closing, and you're not budging, then I really don't need to. Then I won't waste your time. Come look at the house. But if you're flexible and open to talking about it when we get there, I will come see it. Right? And you kind of got to be that blunt. Do you want me to come to the house or don't you? If you do want me to come and buy your house, this I can't pay you 20. So if you absolutely need it, I respect that and appreciate it. And I'm not the buyer. If you're open to negotiate, I'll see you at 5 p.m. or something. You know what I mean? Like that's the attitude that you need to have on all the calls, and don't be such a hard ass or so blunt about it, but mentality wise needs to be give me the answers I'm looking for or not. Right. And if you do, I'll come see it and we can talk. If not, I'll put you on follow up or mark you as dead and you're out of my life. Good riddance, or God bless, whatever you want to tell them. Right. So um yeah, I hope that answered your question.
nope, it did. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. All righty, all righty. Any other questions here? We got about 7, 8 minutes left. If anybody had anything else, I'd love to take anything else. If not, I will let everyone get on about the rest of their evening.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. I have one question. Are you familiar with the scripts pretty much?
A little bit. I
Okay.
got you. What's up, man?
So the no script rebuttal script, on one of the lines he says we can close it as quick as 3 days. Um, and explaining what we can do, but that's I always get like we can close as quick as 3 days, but that's only if I got a buyer, right?
It depends on, yeah, it depends how you're buying it. I mean, if you're wholesaling it, I definitely wouldn't say we can close as fast as 3 days, right? If you're buying it in cash and you're the cash buyer, then yeah, you definitely could close probably. I mean, 3 days is pushing it still on that, but it definitely could be done. Um, and if you're going to do a terms deal, I definitely would not say 3 days. You're going to definitely need more than that. Just remember some of the things that we say and some of the marketing is really just to gauge interest. It's really just to get people interested and to say, yeah, I'm looking to sell, right? And not that we want to lie by any means. I'm just saying some of the stuff can be, yeah, 3 days, 7 days, 10 days. What's the difference at that point, right? I mean, so
So a lot of
um,
stuff, a lot of the scripts that you have to kind of say it within relationship to the story or how you're able to maybe pull off a deal.
correct. Yeah. Like I was saying before with the follow-up, each lead is its own story. So if
Yeah.
I had somebody who needed to sell in the next, 20 days or whatever, and the numbers made sense and they just had to sell, then yeah, I'm gonna bust my ass and make sure everything, I'll get it done and I'll get it done in 10 days, right? We can move as fast as we want. So that person I would say, yeah, yeah, we can get it done. Someone who's saying like, oh, I need to sell, next month. Why would I throw myself on the sword and say 3 days if they're not in that mode, right? You know what I mean? So it's like if they're in an urgency, I can be in an urgency. If they're laid back, I can be laid back, right? If they want to leave all their stuff, they can leave it. If they want to take it all, right? So all those things are all true, just a matter of how we and relative to what the conversation's going.
Yeah, so I've been going back and forth with Brian, and I question some of these scripts. I'm like, because Ron says now go by the scripts, don't deter off the script, stay on the script. Yeah, but that doesn't make sense. you know, like, and it depends on the situation. So you got to be careful. Don't just blindly read off the script and then say something you can't follow up.
Yeah, and again, I always tell people make those scripts um, uh, uh, to your business. Make them. I mean, you want to stay on the script as a guide, but we don't necessarily have to read word for word. We can change the scripts to fit our state, fit our city, fit our business.
Right.
I just use them as a guide to stay on track of what I need to cover, more of a checklist than a script. Is like, okay, I want to make sure I got the address, the phone number, the information. Oh, here's the mortgage. Okay, can't forget that. Okay, here's the condition. Okay, what about HOA? Oh, yeah, it is a condo. Let me put that down. So that's kind of how I use it at this point. But I know your point. And yeah, just read through everything before you start going out there and saying it. If it doesn't make sense, change it to 14 days, right? I mean, that's fine. That's realistic.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome. Gary,
Hey, just real quick, you were saying if you've got a terms deal, it takes a little longer. I would think that the wholesale may take. I mean, all you're doing with wholesale is getting someone else on the line, right? I mean, it's not you don't have an attorney or anything involved, right?
you can use tower company, but sometimes you do need, but you're going to need time to find that buyer. Then the buyer is going to want to go buy the property,
Yeah,
right? I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
it can get
exactly.
done. It can get done quickly. I'm
Well,
just saying three
but
days is.
but a terms deal, it's primarily how fast your attorney can do it, right? Because you can't overcommit for your attorney. He may not be
Yeah,
able to get it done in a week, right? So
yeah. I mean, attorney, insurance, verifying the payments, all that. Yeah, that's why
you got to
terms
get
can
you
it
got to
can
get
take longer.
yeah, you
Yeah,
got to get the title search and all that stuff. So
yeah, yeah.
okay, okay. Yeah, 3 days
But
is pretty.
in general, we always put 30 days, no matter what the deal is, cash, wholesale terms, we put 30 days every contract, unless there's a tenant or something, or we agreed whatever beforehand. But standards 30 days, and we just keep it that way.
Okay.
Even if someone tell me even if someone says, I have to close by the 20th of the month, I'm still putting 30 days. I mean, what does it matter? Unless they were adamant about, hey, it needs to say that, then maybe. But I'm just saying, we'll get it done. That's how I assure people. Don't worry, I got you. We're gonna get this done. I never make it sound like, oh well, I'll have to check. No, we'll get it done. Yeah, we got it covered. We do this all the time. In my mind, I might be like, I don't know what in my mind, I might be thinking, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this, or I gotta, but on the outside, yeah, we got it. I'll take care of it. I never show an ounce of like a doubt, right? Especially before they've signed the contract. Now, get them to sign, put in title, and if it takes 11 instead of 10 days or 12 instead of 10 days, we'll all live. You know what I mean? Trust me, we'll all survive. But in the moment of talking, yeah, I'm never gonna show a doubt of like, oh, I don't know if we can do that. It's like, yeah, I got it under control. I'll figure it out, and I will figure it out. So, and you guys will too when you get there. So,
All right. Thank you.
you're welcome. All right, everyone, we're coming up on 8. I might take one more question if anyone's got one. If not, I will let everyone go. All
So I
right.
got one more question. You got a
Yep.
few more minutes.
Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
So if you go out and say you find that maybe you want to go ahead and sign it over to an axe. If you let the seller know that I've come to this decision here that I need to make, just what is it? What's axe stand for? Going to assign it. If you let
Mm-hmm.
him know before you do the deal, then that's good. Uh, you're not hiding anything from him.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can do it whether you're doing act or you're doing a wholesale deal. Be as transparent. I mean, I wouldn't go in there and say I'm going to wholesale your deal and I'm going to find a cash buyer and I'm going to make this money. I mean, I wouldn't go that, right? But in any deal, you can say, hey, listen, I work with a group of, work with a network of investors here, and we agreed to pay you 100K. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this to my group of investors. I'm going to get you the 100K. They'll pay me a fee out of their own pocket, which is true, which isn't a fee, and we'll get your house sold. Does that sound good? So I just told them I'm going to assign the deal without saying I'm wholesaling it, right? And that's true. I do have a network of investors here that are looking to buy properties, and we agree on 100, and I'm going to hold my end of the bargain of 100. Anything over that, my investors will pay me out of their pocket, which they will, and we'll get your house taken care of.
Yeah, so I'd like to leave it open, depending on what I find in the market. I may find someone to pay me cash, or I may find a rental home or option to lease. I'd like to leave it open, and if I find that it's best for me to go to an assignment, I just tell them that I'm going to move you to an axe deal and assign this buyer to you, and then I'm out.
Yeah. As long, again, you can be as open as long as they're on board with it and you say it the right way and they're cool with it. Yeah, you can do all the above.
Right on. Okay.
Yep. All right, everyone. I do got to hop off now. Very, very important football game tonight. So go Cowboys. So I will see everyone. I will see everyone when I see you Thursday. We got the call at 2 p.m. Eastern, the group call. So I hope to see everyone there. If not, I will see you when I see you.
See you in the morning.
All right. So, oh yeah. See, I got your email, Paul. And yeah, you guys can call me before the call if you want.
All right, super.
All right. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
See you guys.